Rain hammered Detroit's east side when a 26-year-old Latina mechanic wedged herself between two armed officers and a homeless combat medic. That 5-second standoff almost shut down the family garage that fed her little brother. Yet 40 thundering ambulances would soon turn the city's anger into cheers. Tell us in the comments where you're listening from. Your hometown heartbeat belongs in this story too. 42 minutes before midnight, wind rattled the sheet metal roof of Mora Auto and Tire, and every clang echoed inside Rosi Mora's bones. She knelt beside a rust-pocked Honda Civic, prying a seized caliper loose with a breaker bar. Solvent stung her cracked knuckles. Fluorescent light buzzed like an impatient wasp above. Across the workbench, her cracked phone displayed the number she tried not to see. -9 12.33 rent due Friday, or the landlord would weld the bay door shut. Rosi exhaled and told the same lie she'd whispered for weeks. One more clutch job, one more day. Lightning flashed, illuminating stale coffee, empty parts boxes, and a birthday drawing her 8-year-old brother Gabriel had taped to the wall. Super Mech Sis, complete with cape and socket wrench sword. Then thunder rolled the roll-up door. Metal groaned, rain slashed sideways, and a white Ford Econoline coasted in, backfiring once before dying with a cough. Out climbed a tall black man, shoulders rounded by fatigue, jacket soaked so thoroughly water poured from the hem. On the sleeve, a faded EMT patch. On his wrist, a plastic hospital band stamped Gabriel Harper, Vet EMS, Onegi. He removed a battered ball cap. "Evening, ma'am. Back tires flat to the rim. Couldn't risk the freeway. You mind an air hose after hours?" Rosi wiped her palm on her coveralls. "Flats don't watch the clock. I'm Rosi." He smiled, weary but warm. "Doctor. Folks call me Doc. Old habit from field hospitals." She rolled over the compressor. Its motor barked to life. While the tire hissed full, Rosi peeked inside the van. Folding cots, trauma bags, oxygen cylinders, crates labeled Veterans Mobile Clinic. A traveling ER held together by duct tape and devotion. "Rough night for a run," she said. "Pop-up clinic under I-75, Doc replied, rubbing his eyes. 30 vets waiting on antibiotics and asthma meds. Van's on its last legs, but the patients can't wait." Rain drummed harder. A fresh thunderclap. This time boots splashing through the puddle outside. Officers Clay Wagner and Tim Gable strode in, uniforms darkened by storm water, badges gleaming under buzzing lights. Wagner smirked, scanning the cluttered bay. "Shop closes at 9, Rosi. Your old man ran a tighter ship." Rosi straightened. "Emergency fix, officer. 10 minutes and he's out." Gable's gaze bounced from the EMT patch to Doc's face, then hardened. "Manager at the Save Mart says this guy was begging customers. Trespassing turns into loitering awful quick. Hands where I can see 'em." Doc raised open palms, movement slow, practiced, the choreography of someone who'd been down this road before. "Just a flat, officers, licensed paramedic, no trouble meant." "You people are always trouble," Wagner muttered, pressing a finger to his body cam. A red LED winked alive. Heat crawled Rosi's neck. She stepped between them, grease-stained gloves still on, thumbed her phone camera to record. Blue-white light filled the space. "Private property," she said, voice steady but laced with steel. "No warrant, no probable cause, and the customer stays." Across the street, a teenager sheltered under a bus stop whipped out her phone. Another lens joined the scene. Gable's hand drifted close to his taser. "ID, old man, now." Doc eased 2 fingers toward his wallet. Tension cracked in the air like static. "Stop," Rosi barked. "Touch him and Internal Affairs gets 2 live videos before dawn. Your call, officers." Wagner's jaw worked. He spit rainwater. "Inspection Bureau will love the OSHA violations I file in the morning. Fire hazard gas cans, no secondary exits. Enjoy the fines, Miss Mora." Sirens in the distance punctured the silence. The cops turned, boots splashing, and the cruiser's red tail lights smeared across wet asphalt as they roared off. Doc released a breath that deflated his chest. Didn't mean to drag you into a hornet's nest. Rosie forced a thin grin. I grew up in Detroit. Hornets come standard equipment. She finished inflating the tire, topped off coolant from a dented jug, and brewed 2 styrofoam cups of instant cocoa from the break room machine. On the house, she said, pressing one into his hands. World owes medics more than I can invoice. Doc hesitated, then slipped a worn 50 into her palm. For the light bill, he whispered, eyes shining. He climbed into the van, engine barking to life. Stormwater still streamed off the door when her phone pinged again. Willow Circle Neighborhood Watch had posted a blurry freeze frame of Rosie standing between Doc and the police, captioned, Anti-cop Latina blocks PD for vagrant thief, boycott Mora Auto. Comments exploded. BLM garage, deport the lawbreaker, thin blue line forever. Rosie swallowed hard. Consequences trickled ice down her spine, yet beneath the fear a stubborn pilot light flared. If kindness cost rent, she'd pay because she refused to trade her conscience for a padlock. She lowered the door, rain muting to a dull roar outside, unaware that by sunrise that $50 bill would be a snowflake in a coming avalanche, one that might bury her shop or raise it higher than any lift could reach. Sunrise seeped through gray clouds like weak coffee, but Mora Auto and Tire sat darker than usual. Rosie rolled the bay door open at 7. Cold air rushed in, yet the street outside felt colder. Overnight, the neighborhood Facebook post had bred offspring, screenshots on Instagram, a TikTok duet of someone chanting, Back the Blue, boycott Mora. At 8:30, the phone should have rung. Oil change reminders, brake job estimates. Silence. She brewed a pot of diner-grade coffee, poured 2 mugs, then realized there was no one to share with. By 10 a.m., the first sign appeared, stapled to the light pole out front. Fix your attitude, not our cars. At 11, a pickup slowed just long enough for its passenger to toss a bag of trash across the apron. Fast food wrappers burst like dirty confetti. Rosie kept sweeping the shards of French fry boxes, kept pretending the buzzing in her chest was caffeine, not dread. The landlord's Jeep rolled up. Mr. Del Vecchio, gray comb-over, cigar in mouth. He stepped out, nostrils flaring at the litter. You pay Friday or I list the property Monday. Internet says you're anti-police. Investors don't like heat. Friday, Rosie confirmed, voice papery. He drove off, smoke curling like punctuation. A siren whooped once. 2 city trucks and a police cruiser parked at the curb. Officer Wagner climbed out with Code Compliance Inspector Mara Leaks, clipboard ready. Safety review, Wagner announced, a grin sharp as a gasket scraper. Random, of course. Inspector Leaks, mid-50s, wrinkles drawn tight by bureaucracy, walked the bay, tapping notes. No secondary exit, expired fire extinguisher, unlabeled chemical drums, she recited. The clipboard might as well have been a guillotine. That's solvent recycling, Rosie protested. Permit posted on the wall. Leaks barely glanced. Permit expired last month. She peeled a red violation, cease operation sticker, and slapped it onto the compressor. Wagner's cam light blinked. Gable lounged at the cruiser, arms folded. Garage is shut until fines are paid, Leaks concluded. Total due, $875. It felt like someone torqued Rosie's heart with an impact gun. She signed the citation with hands that didn't feel attached, then stood in the echoing space as the city trucks rumbled away. At noon, the power flickered, sputtered, died. Prepaid meter drained. Fluorescence winked out. Silence landed heavy. Rosie slid the bay door halfway, sat on a milk crate, and let rainwater drip from her hair into the dust. Fear tasted metallic, like she'd bitten a battery. A cough echoed outside, deep, rattling. Headlights cut through the gloom. Doc's battered Econoline hobbled in trailing steam. He stepped out, coughing into his elbow. The van sputtered twice, died. Radiator finally blew, he rasped. Barely made clinic rounds, Heard online they're crucifying you. Rosie forced a smile. Stick around long enough. Detroit crucifies everyone. Doc's gaze settled on the red violation sticker. They shut you down? For now. She lifted the hood. Coolant hissed. Aluminum core split like cracked ice. Doc reached for his wallet. She caught his wrist. Don't even start. You need parts money. Parts I have, time I own. Rent? She exhaled. Rent's tomorrow Rosie's problem. They work by battery lantern. Rosie yanked the radiator. Doc steadied flashlights despite relentless coughing. Steam fogged the bay. Coolant stung nostrils with sweet poison scent. While tools clinked, Doc spoke softly. When I was corpsman in Fallujah, an Iraqi kid handed me a bottle of water during a firefight. Saved 3 Marines that day. Kindness under bullets matters more than flags. Rosie grinned through sweat. We only have rain, not bullets. Raised the van. By dusk, a salvaged radiator from her part shelf sat bolted in place. Doc poured fresh coolant, the reservoir gulping like a thirsty throat. Rosie wiped grease across her cheek, laughed without humor. Van's good for another 1,000 miles of trouble. Doc pressed an inhaler into her hand. For your little brother. Saw the prescription box near your desk. Same brand we give the shelter kids. Rosie's breath caught. How did you... Medic's eye, he winked. He tucked an envelope under a toolbox, then climbed into the van. Stay strong, garage girl. Engine roared healthier. Taillights melted into drizzle. Rosie opened the envelope. Hospital billing form signed Harper Foundation Relief Fund. A check for $600 and a note. Light bills first, fights second. See you on the other side of tomorrow. Doc. Tears blurred the numbers. 600 wasn't rent, wasn't fines, but it was a bridge plank over a chasm. She shut off the lantern, face swallowed by shadows. The red violation sticker glowed dull in the dark. Outside, rain slackened to a mist, and distant sirens mixed with lonely freight train horns. Rosie set the inhaler on the counter beside Gabriel's drawing and whispered, one more clutch job, one more day, even though tomorrow now held more storm clouds than skies. Yet somewhere beneath the worry, the pilot light still burned, and storms, she reminded herself, feed the brightest sparks. Dawn bled pale orange across the warehouse roofs, but the Bay of Mora auto and tire stayed dim. Power was still cut. Rosie had napped on a creeper, coveralls for a blanket. Cold woke her before the alarm. She brewed instant coffee on a camp stove, staring at yesterday's red cease operation sticker like it was a ransom note. Her brother Gabriel called from home, wheezing but cheerful about the new inhaler. She promised everything would be fine. Hung up, whispered to the empty shop, please let that be true. At 9 a.m., the landlord texted, money today or keys tomorrow. No extensions. She calculated. $912 rent plus $875 fines equals $1,787. Doc's envelope covered a third. The math felt like a brick in her chest. 10:30 brought drizzle and silence until distant engines rumbled. 1 motorcycle? 2? The sound multiplied, low and rhythmic like a heartbeat through mufflers. Rosie stepped outside. Down the block, twin headlights split the gray. 2 white adventure bikes, front fairings painted with red crosses. Their riders, 1 Latino woman, 1 bald white man, wore high-vis vests marked Guardian EMS Riders. They parked by the curb, removed helmets. The woman offered a gloved hand. Morning. You Rosie? Yeah, she answered, wary. I'm Captain Val Medina. This is Chief Paul Stokes. We're medics. Doc Harper's unit. Paul produced a phone. Doc's selfie appeared on screen, grinning beside the newly fixed van. Underneath, she kept us rolling. Back her up. Rosie's throat tightened. He doesn't owe me. Val laughed. Doc never pays debts. He repays kindness. Different thing entirely. She glanced at the dark garage. Power out? Yeah, city shut me down. Paul whistled, peering at the violation sticker. Petty revenge in red ink. Classic. He looked up Main Street. Good thing we brought a crowd. Another rumble, deeper now. From both ends of the avenue, vehicles rolled in. 4 boxy ambulances retired from county service, still sporting faded EMS chevrons. 2 Humvee-style medical rigs painted snow white, red crosses on the doors. A convoy of 20 motorcycles, panniers stickered with unit patches, IV bag holders strapped to the frames. A 30-foot supply truck with Guardian Rider logistics and spray paint stencils. Engines cut one by one, air filled with warm diesel, wet asphalt, and the faint antiseptic scent leaking from medical kits. Neighbors peered from porches, phone cameras lifted. Val turned to Rosi. Got room to unload? She blinked. Unload what exactly? Paul slapped the box truck side panel. The roll-up door rattled open. Shelves of brake pads, oil filters, timing belts, and 3 brand-new fire extinguishers. On top sat a bright orange generator still in plastic. Supplies, he said. Doc sent your parts list. I never gave... He guessed. Corpsman intuition. 2 riders, one black, one Korean American, jumped down with pallet jacks, ferrying crates toward the bay. Others formed a bucket line, passing cartons like ants. Val handed Rosi an envelope thicker than Doc's. She hesitated, then opened it. A cashier's check for $2,000 and a printed receipt. City fines paid in full at 7:12 a.m. Rosi's vision blurred. I can't accept this. Paul shrugged. Too late. City already cashed it. We prefer preemptive philanthropy. Sirens wailed. Officer Wagner's cruiser screeched to the curb. Lights spinning. He stepped out, face flushed. What's going on, Rosi? Operating despite a cease order? Val stepped forward. Badge-shaped patch on her sleeve reading Captain Medina. U.S. Army, retired. Captain Valeria Medina, Guardian EMS Riders. We've leased this bay today for humanitarian vehicle service. Paperwork's digital. Try to keep up. She tapped a tablet. Wagner's radio crackled. Dispatch confirming a temporary event permit filed at dawn. Behind him, a second car arrived. Deputy Chief Rowan Garvey, older, calmer. He surveyed the convoy, the cameras, the retired ambulances plastered with Purple Heart decals, and exhaled. Are these rigs blocking emergency lanes? Paul grinned, handed him a laminated traffic flow map. Coned, compliant, Code 3 clearances. Garvey studied Rosi. You running the show? She's our host, Val said. City fines sorted, fire code updated. She pointed at 2 riders bolting a fresh exit sign above Rosi's rear door. We're by the book types, Chief. Wagner's jaw clenched. This doesn't erase last night's obstruction. Obstruction, Paul echoed. Funny word for refusing unlawful search. Garvey raised a palm. Enough. We'll monitor noise levels. Otherwise, you're on private property. Murmurs rose among porch onlookers. Approval. Surprise. A little boy on a BMX cheered when a rider revved gently, siren chirp style. The tension leaked away like air from a pinhole. Val faced Rosi. Mind if we brand the front gate? Temporary banner. Rosi nodded, dazed. 2 medics unfurled vinyl across the roll-up door. Field Repair Hub, Guardian Riders, Ex Mora Auto, Vets Serve, Neighbors Stand. Applause erupted. Riders slapping tank lids, locals clapping from stoops. Even Garvey's lips twitched upward before he herded Wagner back to the cruiser. Rosi found herself laughing, half sobbing. Paul pressed a to-go cup in her hand. Real coffee, steaming. Lesson from the road, he said. Rumors travel fast, engines travel faster. She sipped. Warmth spread deeper than caffeine. For the first time in 2 days, the pilot light inside felt like an open flame. Val clapped her shoulder. Let's get that power back. Generator's yours to keep. Why? Rosi asked, voice small. Val met her gaze. Because yesterday you protected 1 medic. Today, 200 medics protect you. Quid pro crowbar, as Doc likes to joke. A biker medic in a kilt wheeled out Rosie's seized Civic, replaced by a county ambulance up on jacks. Someone synced a Bluetooth speaker. Classic Motown poured into the street. Children hopped sidewalk puddles. Riders taught them how to glove bump instead of fist bump. Rosie stood amid boxes, banners, and buzzing goodwill, realizing the bay hadn't looked this full or this alive since her dad's final summer. Her phone vibrated. A text from Del Vecchio. Saw the news trucks. Rent stays Friday, but we'll talk extension. She laughed, pocketed the phone. The roar of injustice had called forth an even louder answer, one built of sirens, socket wrenches, and solidarity. Somewhere on I-94, Doc Harper would be smiling, and inside Rosie's chest the flame became a small sun, ready for whatever nightfall tried next. By late afternoon, the block looked nothing like the day before. Generators hummed, impact guns rattled, and the smell of fresh coffee tangled with motor oil and rain-damp pavement. Neighbors who had filmed from a distance now crossed the street carrying donuts, bottled water, even a tray of empanadas for the grease-covered heroes. Rosie wiped sweat from her brow and watched little Gabe, wearing oversized hearing protection, hand sockets to a biker twice his height. The boy's wheeze had softened. The inhaler worked its quiet magic while his grin did the loud work. Inside the office, Val Medina set a folder on the counter. Business paperwork. Guardian Riders just prepaid 6 months of fleet maintenance. Rosie blinked. That's thousands of dollars. Consider it an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. You keep us rolling, we keep you funded. A cheer erupted outside. The convoy parted like a curtain, and a familiar white Econoline eased up the drive. Doc Harper climbed out, eyes sunken but shining, jacket flapping in the breeze. Behind him stepped a teenage girl with a knit cap over a shaved head. She leaned on a cane, yet carried herself like royalty. Doc introduced her, voice thick. "Rosie, this is my daughter, Janelle. Last night's clinic run. Turned out it was our last run together before her next chemo. If the van had quit." He trailed off, emotion clogging the sentence. Janelle finished for him, smiling. If the van had quit, a bunch of vets would have missed their meds, and Dad would be in jail for grand theft radiator. "Thanks for being the clutch, Miss Rosie." Rosie's throat knotted. She knelt, offered a fist. Janelle bumped it, giggling when grease smudged her knuckles. "War paint," she declared. Doc looked around at the bustling yard. "You turned a witch hunt into a block party." "Wasn't me," Rosie said. "It was horsepower, hazmat coffee, and a whole lot of stubborn medics." A horn blast cut the chatter. Mr. Del Vecchio's Jeep. The landlord stepped out, cigar unlit, cheeks puffed with uncertainty. He surveyed ambulances, news vans, children on BMX bikes weaving between panniers. Paul Stokes intercepted him, brandishing a clipboard. "Mr. Del Vecchio, correct? Guardian EMS will lease 2 additional parking spaces monthly. Rate negotiable upward." Del Vecchio swallowed, turned to Rosie. "Seems the neighborhood watch got this wrong, kid. Garage is good for the community, after all." Rosie crossed her arms. "Rent extension?" He forced a smile. 30 extra days. Maybe a renovation grant if the city keeps smiling. Cameras clicked. He retreated to his Jeep, suddenly allergic to attention. Deputy Chief Rowan Garvey reappeared, minus the cruiser, wearing jeans and a windbreaker. He walked straight to Rosie, handed back the red cease operation sticker, now voided and stamped compliant. "We reviewed yesterday's body cam," he admitted. "Your recording saved a lot of paperwork. Officer Wagner's on administrative review." Rosie let the sticker flutter into a trash bin. "Policies change if people watch," she said. "Sometimes officers change faster," Garvey replied, nodding toward the sidewalk. There, Officer Wagner, minus badge, plain clothes, stood awkwardly beside a folding table where Janelle sold patches for the mobile clinic fund. He slid a 20 across and muttered something that made Janelle's eyebrows rise in mock shock, then chuckle. Tiny steps, Rosie thought. Oil doesn't mix with water, but add soap, and even enemies can form a stable emulsion. Twilight draped the street in violet. Someone rigged LEDs under a canopy. Motown faded into slow acoustic guitar. The last ambulance's brakes bled. The last motorcycle's chain lubed. A spontaneous hush rippled through the crowd as Val climbed onto a milk crate, raising a shop rag like a flag. Listen up, her voice carried without a mic. Yesterday, the loudest thing in this garage was fear. Today, it's hope and socket wrench clatter. Laughter bubbled. She pointed to Rosie. One woman drew a line with nothing but a phone and a heartbeat, because a patch on a sleeve or a uniform on a chest does not decide who deserves respect. Actions do. The convoy erupted in applause. Even porch-bound neighbors joined, palms echoing off vinyl siding. Val wasn't finished. Guardian Riders declare Mora Auto and Tire an official field repair hub. Whoever messes with her messes with all of us, and we bring bigger toolboxes than most. Cheers rose loud enough to shiver window glass. Doc stepped up, gripping Janelle's hand. I served 2 tours patching holes in soldiers, he said, voice hoarse. Rosie patched the hole in my faith that this city still knows right from wrong. He lifted a small gleaming object, his bronze star. The crowd inhaled. But faith should travel lighter than metals. He pinned the ribbon to a pegboard above Rosie's workbench, right beside Gabriel's crayon drawing. Gooseflesh prickled Rosie's arms. She tried to protest. Doc silenced her with a look that held sandstorms and surgery lights and midnight grief. Let it hang here, he murmured. So any vet rolling in on fumes knows they've found friendly ground. Rosie managed. I don't have words big enough. Then keep using big deeds, Janelle said, leaning her cane against the milk crate to hug Rosie tight. Hours later, when engines had faded into distance and only cicadas filled the gaps, Rosie locked the restored bay. New fire extinguisher gleamed by the door. Exit sign glowed green. The generator purred like a sleeping dog. In the quiet, the bronze star winked under fluorescent light next to Supermech Sis. She whispered to the shop, to her father's memory, to every grease-smudged patron who would arrive tomorrow. One more clutch job, one more dream. And for the first time, that mantra felt less like a plea and more like a promise. If you believe kindness can out-rev rumor mills, and that one brave stand can spin a whole town forward, tap like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell. Let's keep every good engine running, one story and one act of courage at a time.